Hey there, it's Steve Bradley and Todd Gale on the Get Up and Go show. Wait, it's Todd Gale and Steve Bradley, but Todd Gale isn't here. Where is he? Hi. And how come my name doesn't go first on that list? How come it's Todd's? Well, since Todd isn't here, we're going to share some awkward moments that I've had on the radio, and I've had many of them. Awkward moment number 1. My first time on the air here at Life 100.3, I have zero radio experience. I think I did some practice shows 2 weeks beforehand, but my first live experience was here on the Get Up and Go show, and everybody's listening. Everybody's wondering, what's the new guy gonna sound like? What's a new show gonna be like? And I cram up. Todd turns on the mic and I can't say anything. I'm like, blah, 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 blah. It was so bad that Steve Jones, who's on middays, comes. He put his hand on my shoulder to calm me down because I was so nervous. It's going to be okay. It's okay. At that moment, he must have thought, who have I hired? But we got through the first day and the nerves and all that, and it turned out not bad, I think. So Todd Gale is off again during this particular week, and he set up an interview with a pretty big artist. Maybe you've heard of him. His name is Chris Tomlin. And David Mann, as I'm walking in the studio to call Chris Tomlin, he says, hey man, good luck with that interview. This is a big one, eh? Have fun. I said, thanks man. Yeah, this is my first one. This is a big one. It's Chris Tomlin. So I come in, I call Chris Tomlin, and I start the interview. It's going fantastic. Chris and I are having some chemistry. It's going well. And then about halfway through the interview, I look over to what we call Vox Pro. It's what we record our interviews on. And it's not recording. I forgot to hit record. And I have to stop and say, Chris, like we're on a first name basis now. Chris, stop, Chris, stop. I forgot to hit record. And he's like, oh.
And we have the audio.
I apologize, Chris. My recorder wasn't on.
Okay.
Can we start again?
Sure.
I'm so sorry, Chris. My very first SHARATHON, we hadn't started the Get Up and Go show. We were just going to announce the Get Up and Go show. So I was coming in for one little, we call it a bit when we talk on the radio. So I was coming in for one bit. They're going to introduce me, introduce the name of the show. And they said, hey, Steve, just come on, talk a little bit. And I thought, it's SHARATHON. I got this great idea. Why don't I tell them, let's shut off the radio and show people what it would be like without radio, without Christian radio. What would that sound like? What would the silence be like? I didn't run this by Steve Jones or Todd Gale. I just did it live on air. And Steve Jones, when I said it, I said, come on, let's just turn the radio off just for a second. I didn't know you never do that. You never, ever turn off the radio. I'm just like, let's try it. And Steve Jones, live on air, isn't saying a word. He just shakes his head, just like that. And then Todd Gale on the other side, he's trying to back me up. And he says, oh, come on, Steve Jones. Let's just, even for like 5 seconds. Steve Jones doesn't say anything. That was all. That's all he did. And so that became a legendary moment because my sister-in-law, the next time I seen my sister-in-law at a family event, she heard the bit and she had it on at her workplace. And so she's laughing at me as she's hearing it. And she said at our next family event, she says, hey, Steve, why don't we turn off the radio? In front of everybody. Every SHARATHON, everybody reminds me about that bit. Hey, Steve, why don't we turn off the radio? So we're off to a good start here at Life.